Good morning, welcome to Morning Outlook. This is Kim speaking on Wednesday, 31st of the 5th, 2017. Okay, looking at the Eurodollar first and taking yesterday into play. And well, yesterday we ended up with this quite a bullish hammer. Now, I mentioned the weekly pivot yesterday in terms of a possible pivotal area, and well, he's run into it, but not closed above it. It had an effect from it. Now, I'm looking this morning to see how this reacts more so. I was relatively bearish from it, but looking at where we're sitting at the moment is potentially going to give us a bullish engulfing, leaving us a bit more bullish, and the potential to run back up towards that weekly pivot and maybe even the R1. Any failure of the daily pivot, which we're just sitting in at the moment, would see us leading down towards the S1, maybe the lows of yesterday, at least the lows of the bodies there. We had quite a biggish range yesterday, quite a lot of volatility through the market, so maybe we'll still have some today there, although realistically it's Thursday and Friday. We've got the sort of more volatile news reports due out. Okay, looking at the pound. Pound has sold off yesterday, shooting star into the weekly pivot, looks relatively bearish. We've got the daily 50 as a possible target below. We've still got an untouched monthly pivot there, which could easily be within reach today if we start seeing a sell-off. Short term really just confirms that sort of movement again. Bearish sort of signal at midday yesterday. Started selling off really in the later sessions, and the YouGov stroke Times general election poll that we've seen this morning suggests that the UK Conservative Party would fall short of an outright majority by about 16 seats, which is not quite what the Conservative Party had in mind when they called the election, so somewhat. So that leaves the pound weak, which would suggest there's a potential, unless we see other polls out this morning, but would really suggest that the pound could weaken further, which livens up a potential other trade that we talk about occasionally, which is the euro pound. I say we talk about it in the room, don't actually talk about it on these videos, so here we go. Now the euro pound is looking rather bullish. Of course, it's in this long trend here. It could push up some more. It's already hit the weekly pivot. As I say, if anything, it's well had a reasonable retracement leading into early last week. Then most of last week, as we've seen the gap close between the two leading parties, we've seen this moving up quite strongly. And on the overnight polls there, it looks like this could push up maybe towards those prior highs from last week, and maybe even the R1 at this rate. So the euro pound, it could be a trade, could be a bit of a swing trade in the short term at least. Okay, looking then at the dollar yen. Dollar yen is quite consolidated really on the dailies. There is this sort of track back down. As I said, there was a bullish flag last week. Well, it's made some ground to the lower side there, but really there's lots of consolidation phases that we're seeing on this 4-hourly and hourly. You can see for long periods, and then you just get one or two candles that are sort of leading the way. At the moment, what I'm looking at here, we're putting a bearish hourly pivot swing in there. It's sold off since then. Still looking weakish to the downside potentially. Maybe we'll see that yesterday's lows as a target, if not back into that towards that monthly pivot that's below us there. Okay, Aussie dollar. The Aussie dollar had some weak retail sales out. It's still, to me, choppy and weak. erring towards the weaker side from what we've seen. We've seen this previous 4-hour bar coming in, shooting star again and looking particularly weak. At the moment, we're just sort of almost consolidating a very tight range in this last nearly 4 hours here. But it does, as I say, still look weak, and we could see a breakdown towards that S1, yesterday's low sort of region. Any sort of rallies in this, well, I'd wait until it was back above the weekly pivot, and then possibly the Asia session highs there, maybe the R1 at some point would be targets. And finally, Canadian dollar. In fact, I just need to flick to the oil price just to check on what's going on there, down to $49. Okay. So it's quite stable-ish, but Canadian dollar, well, it's been the stronger one ever since. Yesterday it popped up back towards its daily 50 there. It's just coming back below the weekly pivot at the moment. And if anything, well, actually, it looked like it could have gone further yesterday, but as I say, it's stalled. If anything, at the moment, it looks like it could come back towards those prior lows from last week at this stage, already down towards its S1. To be bullish on this, I'd really need to see it back above the 21s, and then it gives us the target, the daily pivot, and maybe a push back towards yesterday's highs. But at the moment, it's large periods of chop here. It's a risky old pairing, I think, but any sort of strength that we see in this in terms of the Canadian dollar could see it coming down, as I say, towards last week's lows at some point, but for today maybe limited a bit less than that, maybe into Monday's lows. Okay, that's pretty much it today. News-wise, there's some news out there, but it's all quite low-level data. One thing that might move it a bit this morning, 10 o'clock, we got the CPI flash estimate coming out, although we've seen the German data yesterday, which was softish. I see that flash data may come out. We're seeing more and more rhetoric coming from members of the ECB, European Central Bank, which may again create some volatility, some weird old volatility coming through from that yesterday. So that may be a sort of a driver. It's still a week before we see the next statement, etc., from the ECB, but there certainly are some speakers speaking in full tongue, as they say. Okay, that's pretty much it for me. There's, as I say, nothing else of significance in the news there. We've got FOMC speakers. There's some bullishness, I should say, coming through on the dollar as well from that point of view. So it'll be interesting to see when Kaplan speaks at around about 1 o'clock. Right, have a great day. Bye for now.